G'day guys, long time no update, how have you all been? Oh, this thing behind me, this is the new stage. Remember when Klei said that the coming updates would be setting the stage for future content? Well, turns out they meant that literally. This forms the main part of the A Little Drama update, and accompanying this is the extensive quality of life update, both of which are live in the beta branch and both of which we'll be going through in this video. So first of all, what is the deal with the stage? You'll find this thing somewhere on the map already waiting for you. It's not something you need to build or upgrade in any real way. It should also be retrofitted into existing worlds if you don't feel like starting afresh. The purpose of the stage is to let you dress up in the new costumes and act out a play. These costumes drop from the new Briar Wolves, who are currently pretending to be bushes. They reveal themselves when you pick or attack one of the bushes, and there are 7 different outfits you can get from them, comprised of both the mask and the costume piece for each. Obviously there aren't enough of the wolves to get all of the costumes straight away, but they respawn after a day. If you examine the playbill, it tells you what act and scene of the play you're about to perform and the cast required to perform it. If you're playing by yourself, you can even craft a mannequin to help you perform the scenes that require multiple actors. If the wrong cast tries to perform, you'll get booed off the stage and some of those wolves will chase after you. The curtain will also close for 5 days, which can be really annoying if you wanted to see the story and now you have to wait. I'm not going to go too much into the story in this video. I recommend you act it out yourself. There are also interesting little soliloquies you can do with each of the characters individually, which are worth watching. It's quite intriguing from a lore standpoint, and it attempts to explain how some of the DSD characters came to be in the position that they are at this current point in the game's timeline. It's also possible that down the track, this stage will be used for additional performances as the story unfolds, and we might discover what happens with Charlie and Wagstaff and all the rest. Also, I know it's tempting, but don't attack the stage hands. Unlike the ones that we're used to that will take any kind of beating, these new ones will bash the absolute shit out of you, so you've been warned. And as you probably noticed, there is a new kind of carpet and a new kind of stone flooring around the stage, and in this update there are actually 10 new turfs you can craft, as well as the ability to craft the ancient stonework found in the archives. You need more distilled knowledge for that, and you have to craft the rest of the turf blueprints from the ancient pseudoscience station. But if you don't feel like crafting your own turf, you can now just dig up the ruins turf as well. To go with all this turf, we've finally been given the golden pitchfork, or snazzy pitchfork, which I've practically been begging for like 3 years. It has 800 uses instead of the classic 200, but it has been immediately superseded by my new favorite hat, the Turf Razor Helm. You can get this from killing Antlion or by donating the Beach Toy trinket, so that immediately raises Antlion from an F tier boss to about a B. While you wear the helm, you instantly dig up every tile of turf that you stand on. You can also load turf into the hat slot, and you guessed it, it will instantly place that turf onto the ground. But that's not all. It can do both of these things at once. You can replace one turf with another just by walking over it. Unfortunately, the hat does eventually wear out and you can't currently repair it or refuel it, but it's a massive thumbs up from me. And something you can actually repair now is the Lazy Forager, which is great because I'll be using it to pick up all the turf that I'm digging up. There are 5 new crockpot dishes coming in this update as well, with 3 of them utilizing eggs, and the tall Scotch eggs requiring tall bird eggs, which is a first for DST, I believe. The dish also gives an insane 60 health and 150 hunger for just 1 tall bird and some veg. The breakfast skillet and plain omelette are also quite nice recipes in their own right, and honestly it's about time that we had some good egg dishes. Sucks for word though. To go with the tall bird egg recipes, there have been some changes to how tall birds work. They'll now make new nests on rocky or empty turf if they don't have one already. You can use this to relocate tall birds if you wish. Tall bird eggs can be found in Claus's loot stash as well, which I think is more of a safeguard in case all of your tall birds and nests have been eliminated from the world. And both small birds and teen birds no longer take damage from tooth traps, bee mines, or anemones. As for the other 2 crockpot dishes, they are actually inedible. Well, for the player anyway. They're meant to be eaten by beefalo. Steamed twigs gives 100 hunger and beefalo treats 25 hunger and 75 health, making them both perfectly viable options for feeding your beefalo, especially since they are relatively easy to make. And if my math is correct, there are now 69 crockpot dishes in the game, not including the chef's specials, of course. And if you think that sounds a little overwhelming, in this update there are now recipe cards that you can find in tumbleweeds, in graves, and other similar places that give you an example of a recipe that works in the game. From what I've seen, these are often not the most efficient recipes you can make, but for new players, it at least gives you options for cooking things that you may not have known existed. And for everyone else, before you throw these things on the fire, you can actually erase them at a cartographer's desk for a free papyrus. You can also do this with blueprints, sketches, adverts, and costume patterns. I'm a big fan of this change. I would have liked if things like sketches could just stack together, but at least I can turn my 50 Moose Goose sketches into something relatively useful now. Also, loading protection. No longer will you have to worry about getting hit or killed while coming up from the caves. Players have been asking for this for years, and it's great to finally have it. The construction requirements for Pearl's house have also been adjusted. You no longer need to play through the summer to get the cactus flowers. You do, however, need fireflies, light bulbs, and carpet now on top of most of the original ingredients. And there are plenty more changes in this update. Roasted birch nuts can be fed to beefalo. They also don't need to be roasted to be placed in the crock pot. Ice cream is now a goodie, meaning that Wigford can eat it. Fire pits and campfires now drop charcoal when the flame runs out for whatever reason. The Scarecrow UI has been brought into the 21st century, so you don't have to scroll for an eternity to get to the item of clothing you want. Straw rolls now restore a bit of health when you use them, making them a very cheap healing alternative if you don't mind the wait and have enough food. The tent and siesta lean-to have also been given more uses, which is nice because I always found them quite expensive for what they were worth. And on top of all of these content changes, there have also been some back-end changes, or maybe front-end? I'm not really quite sure which end it is, but either way, there are now server playstyles which you can assign before you create your world, which is essentially replacing the old server intention system with cooperative, social, madness, those things if you remember. So we have the classic game modes in here with your standard survival, endless, and wilderness. We also have the addition of lights out, which was quite a popular preset, and the new relaxed mode. This is kind of like the no sweat modes that already exist in other Klei games, and in here you literally cannot starve. You also can't die from darkness or temperature. Hound waves and shadow creatures are reduced as well. You take a lot less damage when you get hit, and you can respawn at the portal like in the endless mode if you somehow manage to die. I've seen a lot of people get a bit upset about this addition, and I can kinda understand why, but I'm okay with it, I think. I get that this is meant to be an uncompromising survival game, but I've seen so many people pick up this game and get frustrated or give up after an hour or two, and it really sucks for people to miss out on such a great experience because of that. So if this helps people transition from being about to give up on the game to potentially giving the standard experience a try and maybe even getting good at it, then I'm all for it. And there are even more changes and additions that I'm not going to go into. There are a bunch of new world settings you can adjust as well, but I'll leave a link to the patch notes if you want to dive into the minutiae yourself. I think I've mentioned all of the major changes up to this point anyway. This is of course still a beta. Things are subject to further changes in the coming weeks, so keep that in mind. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on what we have so far. Are you disappointed that it's not the major content driven update people have been hanging out for, or are you pleasantly surprised? Let me know in the comments. Like the video, subscribe for more, follow me on Twitch, you know the drill by now. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.